This story is a really good example of what I say when I mean that it seems as if when people do things that are considered right or good under most circumstances, in this new paradox type universe that we live in, uh, doing what is considered right is now the bad thing. So let's read it. Karl Rove slammed Representative Ilhan Omar in a new op-ed and compared her rhetoric, which has been criticized as anti-Semitic, with that of white nationalists who marched in Charlottesville, VA. In the piece published on Fox News' website Monday, Rove criticized Omar for celebrating the House passage of an anti-hate resolution that condemned anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, and other forms of bigotry. Why was Miss Omar proud? Rove, the former deputy chief of staff and senior advisor to former President George W. Bush, asked. Did she not read the resolution? It didn't use her name, but did depict her anti-Semitic insults as morally equivalent to the hate speech of white nationalists in Charlottesville, he asked, referring to the deadly confrontation between white nationalists and counter-protesters in 2017. He also compared Omar's comments to the bigoted anger of the white supremacists who killed 9 African American worshippers in a South Carolina church, a reference to Dylann. Rove asserted the broad anti-hate resolution was promoted by Omar's repeated anti-Semitic blasts, citing recent posts on Twitter, most notably her comments about support for Israel being all about the Benjamin's baby, which is true, but whatever. Everything that doesn't bootleg for Israel is anti-Semitic. Omar later apologized for the post and deleted them. While the House resolution originated in response to Omar's newly heavily criticized remark, it went through several changes to include language condemning all forms of hate. The resolution passed overwhelmingly with only 23 Republicans voting against it. Some of those lawmakers said did not strongly and directly address Omar's comments. Rove in the op-ed argued that Omar supported the resolution because it did not directly name her. Maybe Miss Omar is deluding herself that by keeping her name out of the resolution and her seat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, the measure does not pertain to her one whit. He closed the piece by saying it would have been better for the country and the Democratic Party to have kept the resolution focused on Miss Omar and her comments and sanctioned her for them, adding that Democrats will rue the day they broadened the resolution and shifted the focus from Omar. So why did I start the report off that way? Because let's pretend, right, alternate universe. So she does the reverse of what she actually did. She comes out and she says this resolution is barely anything. It sucks. It's terrible, which is the opposite of her giving it praise for its passage, right? This same idiot would be upset by that. He would go, "How could she be against a resolution condemning all forms of hate? Oh, I know, because the House rebuked her for being an anti-Semite." Do you not see how it is you're damned if you do, damned if you don't? I already told you I do not believe what she said was anti-Semitic, but we've already been over this, that it's really just these other lawmakers not wanting anyone to call out Israel for being for having a horrible human rights violating right wing government under the Likud party, and they have been trying to basically smear her for the last couple of weeks. But besides the point, this person has a resolution drafted to specifically reprimand her, and she tries to say, "Hey, I'm glad that we condemn all forms of hate," which basically is her addressing the content of the revolution. And he is upset by that. He is upset that she praised a resolution that condemns all forms of hate. But let's go into how more insane this is. I think most people would agree that there's a big difference between saying and doing something. And we already can look at that comment up there and see how stupid it is. The white nationalist in that comparison, that makes no sense. But he says that her comments were equitable, or rather similar to the bigoted anger of Dylann. So you're going to compare her saying that support for Israel was all about the Benjamins to a person who went up into a church and shot a group of people just because of their ethnicity. They did nothing to him, acted friendly to him. Do you see how And again, you're never going to get any of Trump's supporters to the same people who talk about, people like Ben Shapiro or any of these other ones that are Jones, right? To say, hey, that's her freedom of speech. You're never going to get them to come to her defense. Would you like to know why? Because they're hypocrites. They don't actually believe what they say. And their support for freedom of speech only pertains to when they find themselves under siege for, in some cases, saying something that, in a lot of instances, deserves to draw attention. Now, whether it deserves to mean getting removed from platforms is another topic. The idiots just won't stop, man. I said it before, all these establishment figures, all the criticism and critiques they're giving her, they're all at the expense of making people be distracted from the fact that the Israeli government has done a million times worse than what Ilhan said. Ask any of them if they think that Israel's government hasn't violated human rights. Ask them about the Gaza Strip and the massacres they've had over there multiple times. But again, this is why I really hate the new wave of politics, because it's a couple of people like Omar that are decent who go out and try to say something that is not the per norm, in Washington or any other circle, and then it's a bunch of pricks either concurrently holding office or former office holders who go and crap on people who actually are trying to do something. Look at what Lieberman said about AOC. Like, they're all just they're just so desperate to get attention, but they can't say anything that's actually challenging or going to get them in the spotlight. So they have to say something stupid about a person who was able to take a stand, because they themselves are cowards. So Karl Rove is a coward. Ilhan is a much braver individual who is trying to call attention to the fact that the U.S. is Israel's lapdog, no matter which party you voted for.